Welcome to ABL Hot Corner, the show that brings you all the good stuff from around the Australian Baseball League. I'm Boris Kilpatrick. With me, as usual, is Jamie Janga Cloden, and tonight we're going to talk about the stretch run and the playoffs and how things are shaping up. After the weekend series, Brisbane Bandits right on top. Janga, looking the goods.
Looking real good, as I think we are today too.
Absolutely. Just on these beautiful old school tops we're wearing tonight. A big thanks to Gary Nielsen. Gary, of course, ex-ABL gun from up north, Queensland. Sent these down for us via his brother Ron, so thanks to Ron as well.
Family effort.
Yeah, family effort. For those of you who don't know Gary, obviously everyone's heard of Dave. Obviously playing in the majors and being an all-star.
Yes.
But Gary had a pretty good career himself. Was the first Nielsen to be drafted back in the day.
Signed by Detroit.
In '83. And also had a very long career in the ABL. They started with in '89 as a 1B man, first baseman, with the old Gold Coast Cougars.
That was a while back. Cougars.
The Gold Coast Cougars. Then he went to the Tokyo Dolphins, who we all love.
Yes.
Johnny Jahar and the boys.
We're still trying to track down some merch from them.
Ron Johnson, pretty tough to find. And then, of course, with the original incarnation of the Brisbane Bandits. So Gary had went through a one-hitter in the ABL, no mean feat. And also was on the Dolphins title in 91-92.
Yes.
And with the Brisbane Bandits in 93-94, so a couple of rings to his name as well.
Yes, and as you can see now, a couple of good uniform tops collected along the way. So thank you very much for that, Gary.
Sensational, Gary. Loving your work, mate, so appreciate that. Now, on to the Bandits. After the weekend series, they've gone 8-2 in the last 10, and they're looking the goods. What do you think, Clothes?
Oh, exactly that. They're looking the goods, and they're doing everything well. They're hitting, they're running, they're pitching, they're fielding, they're starting, relieving, name a part of the game, and they're getting it done.
It's been incredible. They really put themselves in pole position now, I think, for that home championship series, which is going to make them pretty tough to beat. And
they've made the most just of recent times where Sydney have made a charge, Canberra have just had a few little speed bumps along the way, and Brisbane have made the most of that, like you say, gone 8-2 in their last 10 to really establish themselves in top spot and put themselves right in prime position to get a home championship series. Yeah,
they've been good as well, and after establishing themselves as probably the best team in the league, they've also added Reece Nett recently, who came back from surgery and has been very good.
Had a start on the weekend.
Had his first start on the weekend after a couple of relief efforts, and he looks the goods.
Yeah. Oh, and throw him in the mix with Jarvis and co and starting lineup, but it's starting rotation. Sorry, but for me, it's still that bullpen. I've been going on about it all year, but it's because they keep performing all year.
Best in the business.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Just turning 9-inning games into 6-inning affairs.
Yeah, for me, they're the most balanced team coming in. They've got the pitching, they've got the hitting, they can do it on the base paths, and they're well coached, obviously, by yet another Nielsen, as we spoke before, Dave Nielsen.
Yep.
So, Brisbane Bandits looking the goods.
I think so.
So, at the moment, they've got a 2-game lead. Talking about the standings, 2-game lead on the Canberra Cavalry, and the Cavs all year have had big bats.
Yep.
But the pitching was a little off the boil on the weekend.
Yeah, struggling with their starters lately. So guys that have previously been absolutely lights out, Brian Greening, Stephen Kent. Again, going back to that speed hump I was talking about before, just having a couple of little rough starts, and when they're having rough starts, they seem to end up losing. As much as their big bats are coming through at clutch times, when those guys are struggling, it seems to sort of just flow through the rest of the game.
They've sort of clubbed some teams to death with their bats and get over the line that way, but if the pitching's not up to scratch, at the moment their team ERA is now up to 4.79, which I think is the worst in the league, which that sort of crept up because they weren't going too bad early, but if you look at the numbers across the board, worst in the league, and yet they've got a league leading 5 shutouts, so if you factor in all the other starts apart from those, they've struggled a tad.
It just shows us such a heavy reliance on the bats, and
absolutely.
And while they've been coming through all year, all it takes for them is to have a couple of those real big guys to have a slow series.
Yep.
And as you can see in the standings now, they've gone from being a few games up, looking like the team that was going to go streaks ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
They're a couple of games back, and I mean they got a series upcoming, I know, against Adelaide, I think, in the last round.
Yeah, last round of the season.
That's just going to be huge if things sort of stay as they are for the next weekend or two. That's going to be a massive series to see how we end up going into the finals.
Yeah, if we're talking pitching too, like their ERA being the worst, and you look at whose is the best, it's Brisbane.
There it is.
So Brisbane's at 3.65, and that's just fantastic. And that's because their bullpen's been awesome as well as their good starters.
Yeah. Consistency right across the board. It's doing the job for them.
Yep. Look at Canberra. It's the hitting. It's got them over, as you said. OPS, on base plus slugging, which is a really good measure of how the team's hitting.
Yeah.
824, which leads the league. But Brisbane right behind them at 782. So, I mean, even though Canberra outslugging Brizzy with the pitching difference, which is quite stark, you've got to say that Brisbane are the lock to probably make the playoffs right now.
Right now, yeah. A month ago, I would have said Canberra for sure, but it's definitely flipped. And Brisbane are certainly looking like the team to beat right now.
Yeah. So if we look at Brisbane, Canberra, I mean, almost certainties to make the playoffs. 3-team playoffs. After the break, we'll come back and talk about who we think is going to be the third team that's going to sneak in.
Should be cracking.
Okay, so Clothes, we talk about Canberra and Brisbane being more than likely going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
We're going to run through the rest of the league.
The next best.
Except for Melbourne, because we're kind of saying Melbourne are out of it. They're not going to make it.
It's going to take some sort of a finish down the stretch for them to
They've got
to
too many
there.
teams to leapfrog. It's not going to happen. So we're going to go through each of the other teams and try and work out who's going to be the third team that scrapes in. So we're going to start off with the Adelaide Bite right here.
Yep.
Nord Oval. The Bite coming off a pretty disappointing weekend where they won the first 2 games of the series and couldn't hold it.
Could have been a lot better.
It was up 6-1 in the third game, ended up going down 3 games to 2. So they put themselves in a position where they're dead level now with Sydney at 22 and 22.
Yeah.
And the home stretch, they've got Melbourne at home this weekend, Perth away, which is a massive series shaping up in the scheme of things. Yeah. And then Canberra at home. So
well, having those 2 home series, that's huge because they seem to be a different unit at home. That they
definitely
they almost feed off the home crowd when they're here. So by having those extra home games, it could be a factor. But the thing you said then is that big series against Perth.
That's huge.
That is massive. Perth with their we've spoken about it previously. They've just historically have huge second halves, but they are just such a sleeping giant, aren't they? Right
Busted
now,
out a little bit on the weekend.
Yeah.
The bats came a bit warmer.
That's
it. But getting back to Adelaide, what do you see as the good? We'll go through the good and the bad. So what's the good for Adelaide right now?
Well, something I noticed on the weekend was Travis Demerit. He's looking like he's starting to get
really
that back going. Yeah, and he's a 5'-tall guy. He does a bit of everything. So if he hit a couple long balls on the weekend, so if he can get a few more big extra base hits, get on the bases, do some damage with some stolen bags, he could be a real wild card for them in these last few weekends.
Absolutely. And speaking of comebacks, Benny Lodge is back.
Yeah.
And getting a few knocks after being out for a little while.
Getting a bit more game time and made an appearance at centre field, I think, in the last game of the series. And
defensively helps them out as well because obviously they had Wick had to come into the infield with the loss of Cowan, so that sort of helped.
Yeah. Oh, their lineup.
Benny Lodge having back.
The defensive lineup's just been thrown into chaos the last few weekends. It's there's guys going everywhere, but Wick being able to be so versatile has certainly helped. And Lodge has made the most of his at-bats and is starting to show a bit.
Wick showed the cannon off a little bit in the weekend. A couple of plays at third base, fantastic. And also Corey Lyon, they switched things around. Corey Lyon went to second base, Demerit to shortstop, and that looked pretty good.
Again, showing off that strong arm. He's got a cannon as well. It's on the pitching side of things, Stephen Chambers has just been
7-0. He's been just incredible,
and more often than not, being that game one guy, and
puts him in good stead.
Yeah, sets up the series.
Yep. And like I said, Mark Wick, he his last month, you can't get him out.
No, he's an on-base machine.
On base all the time, 474 on base percentage, leads the entire league, and it's just sort of crept up.
Yeah, well, he's sitting I think 4th or 5th in average, but huge
takes
walk
a
total.
lot of walks.
Yeah, just has really good at bats.
Quality at bats,
and it's been sitting down lower in the lineup too. So you never know, he might jump back up to the 1 or 2 spot where he was at the start of the year, and who knows? But you're right, he's just getting on base at a crazy clip.
Bit of a shout out to Blue Sox TV as well for their weekend, and the Blue Sox announcers. The walk-up song for Mark Wick in Sydney on the weekend was Break On Through to the Other Side by the Doors, which is pretty good since he ran through the fence.
And made a real mess of that.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, what about the bad for Adelaide?
Well, one thing that is quite obvious is the running game has just almost completely dried up.
Wick's pinched a couple, but
Wick has, and Petty is as well. I mean, Petty's the second in the league in bags, but since Jordan Cowan hurt himself and ruled himself out for the rest of the year,
huge loss.
He was just tearing up the base paths, and it's really not having him in that leadoff spot has definitely hurt.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kyle Petty also, as you just mentioned, numbers are still really good, but he has hit only 179 in the last 10 games, so he's only human.
Just shows how hot a start he had.
You can't keep hitting like 500, obviously, but yeah, he's been a little bit caught off a little bit.
And I guess they'll be really looking forward to getting Steph Welsh back in the lineup too.
Yeah, that's been a big loss. Obviously, Steph being out of the lineup, there's that bit of extra power, bit of extra pop.
And that was part of that reason for the mixing up defensively, of having to bring Wick into third base and so on. So if he comes back, just stabilise things that little bit more.
Yeah, and finally, I think for their starters outside of Chambers, been a little bit inconsistent. Matty Williams put in a couple of good ones. Wasn't so great on the weekend. Dallas Gallant has looked all right, but just hasn't been able to sort of be consistently putting up good starts.
Yeah, and even Josh Tolles made a start this week.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, dominated, but the fact that he is starting when he's been such a reliable lefty out of the pen for Steve Mintz.
Haven't quite settled, have they? And it needs to happen pretty soon.
It's going to have to do it real soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, what about Sydney, who actually would have been thinking probably during the weekend that they were almost out of it when Adelaide had the 2-game lead in 6-1, but they came back pretty strong.
Oh, they'd be loving life now at 3 on the trot. I mean, if you come out of that series with 3 wins, you'd be happy, but by winning those last 3, that's momentum. They're just rolling into next week.
Absolutely. So 22 and 22, the same as Adelaide. Their series coming up, they got Brisbane away, very tough. Canberra away, equally tough, and then Melbourne at home to finish. So it's a pretty tough run home for them.
I guess if you looked at the betting side of things, gamble responsibly, of course. If they're around the mark come that last series, the smart money would be on them to win it.
They need to keep
to win top spot. But it's going to be very, very interesting.
I thought I lost you there for a minute. Close.
I just couldn't work out.
Now, so the good for Sydney, I think they're in form with 3 wins on the trot against Adelaide. That'll stand them in good stead going to Brisbane. Another big addition coming up, David Candelas is probably going to be added to the lineup in the next week or 2.
Very handy.
He's not quite healthy, been a little bit injured, but once he comes back in that lineup, that's a massive bat added to them.
Oh, it's a huge bat to the lineup. The top of the lineup too, like very, very strong.
Candyman.
See, that's why I have these little pauses.
Candyman. No, Candyman, very good hitter, and he's proven that year after year. Done some good things in Japan in our off season. So big ad for them. Toddy Van Steensel. He got a save in the weekend. He's had struggled a little bit, but that's going to happen when you haven't had work. Had his first work for the year. As he works back into his rhythm, he throws a heavy ball. His off-speed stuff isn't quite at his best, but when it is, he'll be a massive for those guys.
Well, huge too, considering Calvin Drummond's.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he'll take the closer role.
He does. So if he can nail that down, as you say, he'll get stronger with every outing. So if they do happen to be that team that make the playoffs, very handy guy to have sitting there waiting to close it out.
Yep. And last couple of things, Grant Hayman on fire.
In
Fuego. The weekend, Adelaide chose to pitch to him in a tough situation when they had a base open. Could have gone after Casada or Nada, but they didn't. They went after Hayman and paid the price when he hit a massive Johnson over left field. And that was enough to win him the game 7-6. So Hayman's been really good, on fire lately. And finally, Melbourne, like we said last round, it's the good.
If it's a close race and you got Adelaide playing Canberra, and these guys are facing Melbourne, it's.
You know where the money's going, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Although Adelaide at home, never know.
Never know.
What about the bad? Pretty obvious one, bad one for Sydney.
Alex
Baylog's gone home.
He's been as good as a starter as they've been in the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's done.
Yeah, he's done his dash.
Rockies have pulled the pin on it.
Rockies had a pitch count on him, innings count, said that's enough, come home, and that's really left them a really good, strong starter short.
Yeah. I guess the other negative, I suppose, for them on the run home is what we've already spoken about.
Too tough.
Brisbane and Canberra on the road.
Very tough. Josh Dean's been a bit ice cold lately. He was, very strong early. Yeah,
it was him and Hoskins, and then later on D'Antonio when he started firing up as well. But
yeah, he was.
They were the offense there for a while.
Absolutely, and obviously we said Calvin's gone home. Yeah. Calvinator has left the building, so that leaves their pen a little bit skinnier.
Yeah,
that's bad for them.
But that's when you need Van Steen sort of.
TBS, he just pump a few Taylor Swift tunes and get up there and just dominate. He loves that.
Why wouldn't you be a bit of Tay-Tay?
He loves it, mate. All right, on to what about Perth? Perth, I think for everyone, for us, the dark horse. The sleeping giant sitting there, 20 and 24 after a pretty good series in the weekend. They scored a lot of runs.
And for those teams ahead of them, for your Adelaide and Sydney, Perth just won't go away.
They won't go away.
We've spoken week after week about their struggles with their bats. And they just
happy eaters.
They just keep winning games somehow when they need to, just to stay in touch. So a big series, like that's why that one against the Bite over in Perth is just going to be massive.
So they're sitting a couple of games back of Sydney and Adelaide. Have to leapfrog both, but obviously they don't play Sydney again, but they do play Adelaide. Like we said, in Perth, going to be a huge series.
And I mean the bats are finally starting to heat up. So you got Hughes is starting to hit a few
Hughes,
more
hit a Johnson double, got
D-Sam.
on base a lot on the weekend. D-Sam was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like he was just pounding it at the minute.
Mike Benjamin.
It's all about the Benjamins. He was pretty good too. And Optimus Prime, a couple of knocks, a couple of lucky ones as well. A couple of sneaky Texas leaguers, but
make your own luck.
Make your own luck. So bats heating up. Like we said, 2 series at home, and they're very tough to beat at home when they're rolling. The crowd gets up, gets behind them. And
especially at the moment too, when you've got guys like Tom Bailey, Nick Veal, they're throwing well in their
starts.
That'd be good, as their
Tom
number
Bailey
2 and 3 guys.
Probably the most consistent over the last few starts. And they've got Wazza, who, a bit like TVS, Toddy Van Steensel, very good quality pitcher, has come out of the gate, hasn't got his stuff back yet after a bit of a layoff, but once he starts getting his stuff back, look out.
Well, that's the Perth thing, isn't it? Just keep warming up, make the playoffs, and then bang, you're right, ready to go. So.
Absolutely. Any bad for Perth fans out there, apart from the fact they're chasing?
Well, it hurts me to say, but Edwin Cole.
Yeah, he's
my favourite guy. He's just his last few starts, he hasn't been himself. Given up a lot of runs in his last 2 or 3 starts.
Yeah,
so.
14, I think. 14 runs conceded in the last 3 starts.
So. So he's still. I mean, you look at his numbers across the year, still phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he's certainly had a little rough patch. So if they do want to make up this ground on those teams, he's going to need to switch things around.
And they'll get Brisbane last away. So got to make hay while the sun shines for those boys. And see how they go. Now, with a bit of another problem for those guys is the lack of Kennelly's in their team. Sammy's been going all right.
Yeah.
But Tim and Matt would be a massive boost to
we
this
could
team.
Get them in the lineup every game. It'd be a totally different story.
So they're probably going to get Tim back for the 2 home series, which is a big boost for them. But Matty, I don't think will be returning unless they make the playoffs. They might be able to wangle something.
Yeah. Well, if they're able to get a third of their lineup with Kennelly on their back, that's a big help.
They're just big game players too, aren't they? Big game players. A massive boost. But Timmy at home makes a difference. So if they can take care of business in those home series, they're right in it. Right in it for the playoffs. And the other thing is, chasing 2 teams is tough. But they don't play Sydney, but do get like I said, they get a crack at Adelaide. It really is shaping up as I think the series over the next 3 rounds. Adelaide in Perth.
That'll shape it more than any.
It's going to be humongous.
That big.
Humongous. So who's going to make it? Who do you reckon? It's really tough. Tough call.
It is. You know what? And because so many things can change in 3 weeks, it is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, Canberra could still miss out, but I think I'm thinking that Brizzy Canberra will make it.
Yeah. Perhaps on current form, the Blue Sox.
Blue Sox? I reckon Perth Heat are going to sneak in.
Yeah.
I think the Heaters are going to sneak in. I don't know why.
They scare me. They scare me.
Sneaky.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you. They're the other ones I'm tossing up. So it is going to be a huge 3 weeks of baseball, that's for sure.
Sneaky Heaters, happy Heaters.
All happy Heaters.
Watch out for them, mate. Watch out for them. We'll be back in a minute with our hot hitters.
Okay, Boris, we're going to focus for a little while on the offensive side and who's been doing all the hot hitting, not just the last couple of weeks, but also for the season thus far. But talking just the last 2 series over the Christmas break, what have you seen?
Since our Christmas show, which if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's pretty fantastic.
Unbelievable.
My hot guy, that didn't sound right.
Start again.
My hot hitter for the last 2 weeks. Hot hitter, definitely Mike, all about the Benjamins. Mike Benjamin, unbelievable. He had 10 hits, 4 home runs, and 10 RBI in the last 2 series. He has been as hot can be.
That's been a real
hot hitter.
Part of that Perth comeback.
Yeah, hot heat hitter. He's been unbelievable.
Glad that was you, not me.
So Mike Benjamin's my guy. Weirdo Yankovic spoke about him in All About the Benjamins, so he preempted this, but fantastic for Mike Benjamin. So, who's your guy?
Brian, because he pounds.
Brian the Pounder. He has been unbelievable.
Another 12 hits over the last couple. 3 more homers, 10 RBI. So,
big shout out to Brian for helping my fantasy team as well. Brian, well played.
Well done, Brian. Thanks for helping Boris out. Honourable mentions, who else you reckon?
Oh, it's got to be the man, D-San, the man. Alan de San Miguel has been just incredible. 13 hits in the last 2 series, a couple of home runs and 5 RBI and some pretty timely hits too. He's a big game player, the DeSan.
He's one of these guys that's not slowly warming up. He's been hitting home runs quite regularly lately.
He's very, very impressive.
But definitely coming on.
Who else you got?
Ryan Miller.
Miller time.
Yes. Again, another 10 hits, 4 home runs, 9 RBI. So he's very unlucky not to be a hot hitter.
Yep, I agree. And our boy, the guy who's plays with the Crawdads, Travis Demerit's been hotter than a chili crawdad the last couple of series. He's had 10 hits, 2 home runs, and 10 RBI. He's really starting to see the pill a lot better.
And like we said before, he's going to be a very, very key factor for the bite in this run home.
Agreed, very important. And his teammate,
Mark Wick, has been, as we said, unbelievable of late with that on base percentage. 10 hits, 5 steals. So he's getting on base a lot, and he's making things happen when he's out there.
He's been finding a way to, no matter what the situation, if he's not getting a hit, he's getting deep into account, getting a walk. He's been a real team guy.
Stealing second, stealing third, just making things happen.
So the Wickster, impressive. Well done, Wickster.
The Wickster.
What about talking about the season so far? It's we've only got 3 rounds to go. We've got some guys that have been pretty impressive with the batting average.
We have, yeah. Well, if you look at the leaderboard right now for the batting average, David Harris looks like he's got a bit of a mortgage on the batting title. He's just been consistently getting multi-hit games and everything along the way. He's third in the league on base percentage as well. So he's not just getting hits, but he's getting walks. And at the top of that Cavs lineup, that's a huge factor in them having such huge RBI titles to Lebejian and Monaroa and these guys.
Yeah. I think David Harris, possibly the best Harris since Tony in the league. Feathers.
Big feathers.
I just thought I'd get Feathers in there. He hasn't been spoken about Feathers for a while. But yeah, David Harris, really impressive
this year.
For Canberra. And they've had so many good hitters, but he has been cream of the crop, I think, hasn't he?
Definitely. And like I say, he's been at the top of the leaderboard for all year pretty much. He's just been very, very consistent. Yeah,
a couple of other guys that have been really outstanding all season. Justin Williams for the Brisbane Bandits. I know Buck Davison, who's a big Tampa Bay Rays fan, follows the minors, has been keeping an eye on him from all the way from over the US. Keeping an eye on Justin Williams, and he's been impressed as well, just from what he's seen, and he's been the complete player, hasn't he, for Brisbane?
Done everything. Like I say, second in average behind Harris, but he's also hitting, I think he's got 7 home runs now. He's right up there with RBIs, he's stealing bases, he does everything, and plays some good D in the outfield too. So
we've seen some guys obviously from the ABL past go on to play in the bigs and make it big. I reckon he's one guy that if things break right, he just looks like he's got that quality.
Definitely a candidate for sure. The other guy, Trent D'Antonio.
Yeah, really good.
Just come on strong lately. Yeah, just a huge second half of the season.
Absolutely, Terrence Trent D'Antonio.
That's him.
Yeah. So well played to those guys. What about the big bangers, home runs?
Well, the man leading the charge there, as he has been pretty much all year, Kyle Petty. Sitting on 12 at the moment.
Got a few chasing him now. The lead has down to 4, I think.
Yeah, as he's cooled off, the other blokes are picking it up. So, but again, as with Harris, who's not just a guy that goes out there and gets hits and does nothing else. Petty, he's leading home runs. He's third in RBIs, and he's second in the league in stolen bases.
Which is amazing, sneaky.
Very, very
sneaky. Which is
a
sign of a good player. Yeah, they can have those sneaky steals.
Well, it's not too often you've got a 6'4", 6'5" first baseman that's running bags like that. Yeah,
very good player. DeSan obviously has been red hot. He's hit 8 now, I think, so he's coming hard at the end of the season.
We haven't mentioned that Nielsen's enough in this show, so we'll put Mitch in as well now.
Get Mitch in there.
Yeah. So he's got 8 as well.
Well, Mitch, of course, son of Gary, who we're wearing the tops of, number 18 as well.
Yes.
So, but Mitch has been really impressive. Obviously, a catcher in the past has played some infield this year and done a really good job.
And swinging it.
Yep.
So so these guys have all got 8. So they're around the mark, like you say, that there was a huge gap between Petty and the rest early. But as he's pulled off, these guys definitely. Yeah. Well, the way DeSan hits them in bunches, he could be sitting top of the
And with the weekend gone past, it was a massive offensive weekend. There wasn't a lot of quality pitching starts. It was a lot of bash and crash.
Yeah.
So even though Kyle Petty has been fantastic and leading the league with 12, maybe the home run race is not complete.
No, and I'll tell you what, a dark horse, he's probably too far behind now, but TJ Bennett, who's come into the Brisbane lineup,
hitting monster bombs from the 8 hole.
Yes. Oh, really?
And that shows how good Brisbane are.
Exactly. He's got 5 home runs from just 40 at bats already.
Yeah, wow.
And like you say, batting 7, 8, just filling in. He's only been pitch hitting in a couple of games.
That would be unbelievable.
Pretty handy bat to have at your disposal.
In the 8th spot.
Yes.
Yeah. Where other teams have like got some sort of punch and duty type guys down there that is trying to get a hit. He's mashing Johnsons.
Absolutely crushing it. So keep an eye on him for a few more long balls between now and the end, especially if they're in the championship series, as it looks like they quite possibly will be.
Yeah.
He could be a real big time player.
Sneak it in. What about the Ribby guys? Who's our man?
Jason Lebigian.
Lebigian. He's been impressive all season, hasn't he? Really good player. In the field as well as with the bat, he's just been a really impressive guy.
Well, you talk about how many categories that Kyle Petty and Justin Williams are dominating in, doing well. So they're all in the MVP mix. He leads the league in runs, hits, doubles, total bases, and obviously RBIs.
That's MVP.
All while playing shortstop.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like the ABL's own Troy Tulowitzki.
Tulo. Tulo gets a mention this week.
Just another short name.
Yeah, no, very good player, and like you say, him and Petty, Cream the Crop, Williams, those sort of guys have been really just fun to watch all year, haven't they?
And his teammate, the boss, in second.
The boss,
yeah,
a little bit cool on the weekend. The boss missed a couple of games, might have been a bit hurt in the weekend. Didn't play every game, but really impressive this season. So
he's second with 38, and as we've already mentioned, Petty with 35.
Petty up there with 35.
So just some big numbers from those blokes who really are the dominant offensive guys this year in the league.
Absolutely. What about a bit of a sneaky guy from Melbourne, Logan Moon, who has been very good for the last sort of 5 series or so, and good to watch as well.
Well, like D'Antonio, that stretch of a month or so leading into Christmas, just the average has just climbed every week, multi-hit game after multi-hit game.
Yeah.
In the lead-off spot more often than not for the Aces, he's been great.
Yeah, they haven't had too much trouble getting runs on the board. They just don't seem to win enough games.
Yeah, that's right.
It's crazy.
And they look like they're the team that's going to miss out so far.
So that's your hitters.
Yes.
What about some pitches for the last couple of rounds? Some flamethrowers? Even though we had some on the weekend, like we said, it was a pretty offensive round. It wasn't a lot of great pitching. The last couple of rounds, who have you seen as your guy, your flamethrower?
I've mentioned him a few times for just being consistent all year. Again, it's with the Bandits. Jason Jarvis.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, so I mean, even in the last round, complete game, win. So through the whole 9, just the 7 hits, 4 Ks.
It's really been a struggle for guys since early in the season. Canberra did it a few times, complete games, got in shutouts, but haven't seen too many of late. And Jason Jarvis, to get through the whole 9, just takes the pressure off the rest of the rotation.
And he has been phenomenal.
And the bullpen,
just super consistent all year. I've been saying all season that's because it's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, so JJ's your man.
You?
I'm just going to pull a guy out that's been in the bullpen for pretty much his whole career.
Yep.
Gave him a spot start in the weekend, and Josh Toles for Adelaide was just unbelievable. He was fantastic. He threw 6 innings, gave up just a single hit, and threw 7 strikeouts.
Well, the Adelaide guys call him the Vulture because he's normally the one coming out of the pen. Vulture in the wins.
Didn't need a vulture.
No.
Vultured himself.
He'll sort himself out now.
Self-vulturing.
Yeah.
No, he told you he was fantastic, so I got to throw him in there because in a sort of weekend there wasn't a lot of great pitching performances. His was
that was a standout.
Just fantastic.
1 hit in 6 innings.
Yeah. A few honourable mentions, like there was a few good performances that weren't outstanding.
Yep.
Who you got?
Well, Wayne Lundgren. I'm going to throw him in.
Yeah, I like Wayne.
He did get a win this time round.
He's been consistently good for a long time.
He has been, so another 6 strong innings. Not a dominant performance, but certainly more than enough to get the win this time around.
Yep, we've got to go also Steve Casey Chambers, because he's now 7-0, hasn't dropped one. Bizarre for him, didn't throw a strikeout in 6 innings, but just got through, only gave up the 1 earned run. A couple of base on balls, but just gave up 6 hits. Another W.
Yeah, only a couple of walks. That's the big thing that's helping him too, just keeping guys off base.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about a couple of other boys, Brizzy guys?
Yeah, well, Ryan Searle, again, just keeps getting it done. A couple more saves. We've spoken about him ad nauseum this year. It just seems that he's a flamethrower every week.
We talked about him not having an ERA for quite a while, then he finally got one, and now he almost has not got one again because it's down to 0.28 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. So he's been really sensational. And the other bloke that I liked in the weekend, Reece Nitt, as we discussed, come back from a pretty tough injury, and he's throwing bullets and just making them look even stronger.
Yeah. One other guy I just wanted to mention too from Melbourne that we've been tossing up over the last few weeks, what his role is going to be down the stretch, Virgil Vasquez.
Virgil back to starting, as I suggested he might. It took him a few weeks to heed my call.
Yep.
But he is back in there starting, throwing a lot of pitches, throwing a lot of strikeouts, but still, once again, not quite at his best because he's walked quite a few as well.
Yeah.
But he's thrown the strikeout, so his stuff's there.
And
just his control.
As long as he's there, he's going to be one of the dominant guys in the league. So.
Yeah, real quality guy, quality pitcher. Everyone loves him. And he's pitched for pretty much every team in the league.
Yeah, well, he's got to just get this season out of the way so he can come back, sort out Brisbane and...
Brizzy next year, and then maybe on to Canberra.
And then he pretty much got every cap.
Covered the lot. All right, Close. Let's get stuck into some predictions. We're almost wrapped this thing up, but massive series now with the playoffs in sight. This weekend, right here at Cooper Stadium, you've got Melbourne coming to town, the Melbourne Aces, at Adelaide. Massive for Adelaide, got to get it done.
I'm going to say Adelaide 3-1, purely because they've just got so much to play for.
Have got a lot to play for.
In front of the home crowd, if they're not going to be pumped up for this series, they never will be. So
Bump it up.
I'll take them 3-1, Arnie.
I reckon I'm right with you there, Tiger. 3-1 for me too. Adelaide. Melbourne got a couple of good starters. Virgil, obviously. Larkins. But I think Adelaide just have to find a way to win 3 of those games. Yeah. Because if they don't, all the pressure's on. Pressure's on going to Perth.
That's going to be crazy, that series, even more so than if they don't get the games won here.
So I'm with you on that one. Massive series, Canberra in Perth.
It's hard because Canberra are having a little bit of a low spot. Perth are starting to come up a bit. I'll sit on the fence scale split.
I'm taking Perth 3-1. I'm riding Perth.
You are on the Perth bandwagon.
I'm riding that pony.
There you go.
The happy heaters. I think Perth can do it. I think they can get over the line, get 3 wins, and they put some real big pressure on Sydney and Adelaide.
Yep. Well, speaking of Sydney,
they
head up to take on the Bandits.
Tough task going up to Brisbane, Holloway Field. What's your call there? Sydney at Brisbane.
I'm going to say Brisbane 3-1. They're just too good right now. I think that there's too much of a complete unit. As well as Sydney finished off that series against Adelaide, they still showed a few little weaknesses here and there where they were able to come back and get the win, but not totally dominate. So I think Brisbane are just too good now, and they're going to take it 3-1.
I think without Baylog pitching, it really makes it tough for Sydney to do a lot of damage up there in Brisbane. And I just think you're exactly right. They're playing too well across the board, fielding, hitting, doing it all, and home crowd, red hot, riding them home. So I'm on Brizzy as well, 3-1 in that series. Yep, no, I agree. And Justin Williams, just to keep going along on his merry way, I really think he's possibly the best player in the league right now. He's just doing it all, and we'll carry him along, I reckon. Take a look at that series, I reckon. You're going to see some pretty good hitting across the board. Definitely. And Brizzy, looking the goods. That just about wraps it up for this week. But don't forget, check us out on Twitter, get on the Facebook page, be interactive. We need to hear from you guys more. Tell us what you think, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, tell us what you want to see, and we'll do what we can to bring it to you. And if you haven't seen the interviews that we've posted up the last week or so, we've got awesome interviews with Tommy West, ABL umpire from Queensland, and Warwick Salpode, the flamethrower from the Perth Heat. Take a look. Look at our Christmas show again, have a few laughs, see some magic tricks. Couple of magic tricks we can filling up the extra beer. It's pretty sensational. But until next week, we'll be back and we'll be talking about some pretty interesting player situations. Very interesting. I think next week. Yeah, it's like we said before. It's a huge run home. These last 3 weeks are going to be. There's going to be some phenomenal baseball played. So get on it, people. Yeah, get off your butt. Get to the ballpark. Have a couple of lagers. Have a hot dog. Enjoy some quality ABL baseball, and see if your team can get over the line and into the playoffs and maybe take home the championship this year. So for ABL Hot Corner, this is Boris Kilpatrick and Jamie Cloden signing off. Thanks for being with us.